There is a big difference between being liked and being respected. I think likes actually very overrated. Look at all the social medias. What would happen to people's posts if it wasn't a like button, if it was a respect button? The last time I played in the NFL, I get cut and I couldn't help but think, is this how I'll be remembered? But it's not. It's a game that you literally take a fake pigskin and put it inside a rectangle, inside another rectangle, while 11 people chase you around. And you think by not being able to do that, your life is over?
He's a college football legend who cemented his legacy as one of sport's greatest leaders. Now Tim Tebow uses his platform to protect society's most vulnerable and help other leaders develop their influence.
What you have modeled so well is you can pivot to purpose.
Every setback, it's an opportunity for a comeback.
Okay, I want you to open this up. This is a person from your past, and I want you to tell the audience who that is and what they meant to you.
I'm nervous.
We know from psychology studies, Tim, that when a person loses a job, whether they've been fired or just laid off, that the psychological and emotional impact is the same as losing a loved one. Which is when I first saw that research, it kind of blew me away. But the impact is that big. And
So then I probably, this comparison to me, I've been cut a lot of times. So
you know where we're going.
I've been fired a lot.
You have. And stunningly.
It's not that funny, man. It's rude, man.
And what's stunning about it to me is that you came from such unbelievable success in high school. You delivered on the success, the hype. Very few people live up to the hype that you had. You delivered at Florida. We know your story. You go to the NFL, and all of a sudden, you're just not wanted. And I never understood it from a football standpoint. I don't want to get on that rabbit trail. But I do think there are a lot of people who have had this happen to them, and they're struggling. There's a level of shame, embarrassment, totally. A whole bunch of things.
Absolutely, all of them.
And no one, the dichotomy for you is really extreme. So I do wonder, first and foremost, what was that like for you emotionally when things started to get tough in the NFL?
It was very hard, but I would say it became harder because my loved ones also had to live with that.
Yeah.
There's such a piece of you that you don't want to have them listen to everything because it's as personal for them as it is for you. And some of them, my parents in general, more. Everything that happens to their kids is like double to them. And that's hard. But I do believe what you were saying of the shame and the guilt that comes with it. And I think it's also why it's so important that we truly have to fight to renew our mind and our heart and fight to keep perspective, because it's so easy in those moments to think, man, my dream's over, the world's over, but it's not. If you really find a way to put it in perspective, what are we talking about? It's a game that you literally take a fake pigskin and put it inside a rectangle, inside another rectangle, while 11 people chase you around. And you think by not being able to do that, your life is over? It's perspective matters. How you see the world changes everything. And we have to fight to do that, because I would have said, man, oh my gosh, this is so many times my perspective. I think I'm a master at losing perspective, right? Because I think perspective is one of the hardest things in life to gain, but one of the easiest things in life to lose.
Yes.
And I also think it is one of the most important things in our entire life is the perspective of how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others, how we view God. Everything is about perspective. Yeah. And it's so easy in those moments. And I could tell you story after story of losing perspective. There's a portrait in our house when you walk in and you walk out. It is a perspective giver to me because I know how often I lose it. And I know that is a flaw. And it's a portrait of a boy who was abandoned and disowned and viewed as less than, cursed, insignificant. And so every time I walk into our TV room and I watch a game, I can't help but walk in and pass him and walk out and pass him, so that it reminds me that game is just that. It's a game. But this boy was viewed as less than, insignificant, and cursed because he was born with special needs, and then therefore he was abandoned, and therefore when he got sick, we took him to hospital. No one would care for him until finally we got him to a hospital, and within 15 minutes of getting admitted, he passed away. And I don't know what's worse, him passing away or all of the people that viewed him as not worthy to care for.
Yeah.
Both are tragedies. Why though? Because it's a lack of perspective. Because they were told in the country that he was from that he's less than because he has special needs, because he's cursed, because he's not as valuable as other people, right? And so for me, I know I have to fight this. And so I put things in practice all of the time because I know it's a flaw. So I have to work on this to fight to keep it by getting in God's word, by having practical things like that, by remembering what matters, because it's so easy to get caught up in so many of these things. And God has just had to prune me many, many times of this, because we set this goal and this dream and this ambition, and then we get humbled in the middle of it, and you think that's everything when it's just not. And I also really believe in that of getting fired, getting cut, getting let go. Yes, it is hard, and there's an emotional weight to it, but not near as much if we flip it and we really believe that with every setback, it's not just a setback, but it's an opportunity for a comeback. Like maybe your greatest setback is actually something that's setting you up for your greatest comeback. And I could tell so many stories from sports or business or life where the hardest moments of their life was actually one of the greatest, it turned out to be one of the greatest blessings or life-changing moments in their life that shaped them or retooled them or changed them in a way. And I just think that's really important. Like every time we go through something that is defeating, it's not just a defeat. What do I learn from it? How can I grow from it? How can I be different from it? How could God use this in my life so I'm not the same tomorrow? And when we do that, it's not a setback. Right. It's a setup.
Yes.
For whatever God has in store tomorrow.
I love that. When you decided, okay, the NFL, I'm moving on, or whatever the situation
I think they said they're moving on first, so.
I appreciate that. I didn't want to say that 100%. What was the transition like after you realized, okay, it's time?
There was a lot of them. Maybe it's because I'm a slow learner. Maybe it's because I'm stubborn. Maybe it's because I'm too arrogant. But there was a lot of them. I think it wouldn't be honest to say there was just one.
Sure.
It was a constant pruning process along the way, and a trust issue. Would I really trust God's plan more than the one that I wanted? And I really don't believe that we can be grateful and bitter at the same time. And are we really going to be grateful for all of the blessings in our life or be bitter? I don't believe that they can. There's a lot of things that can coincide at the same time. I don't believe those two can coincide.
I agree.
And so I'm going to be bitter that I don't have this chance or this opportunity or this, team or whatever. Or am I really going to be grateful? Bitterness steals your joy and your gratitude. And which one are you going to choose to live? But if I told probably more of a specific story of really convicted in this, it was after the last time I played in the NFL when I was playing for the Jaguars. And I got cut. I think it was like the day of my birthday or the day after my birthday or something like that. Not that that's relevant. Just felt like it hurt worse.
Sure.
You know? And I get cut and I got to play one preseason game and I gave up baseball to go back to football. And it was, I think because of that, it felt like 2 losses, to be honest. And I go home and my wife is so sweet and so encouraging. But man, I think the biggest thing was it was just a shock to my ego and my pride. Because if you turn on any of the shows, doesn't matter what channel, everything that was running the whole time was just my worst place from that preseason game over and over and over again. And I couldn't help but think, is this how I'll be remembered? Is this my last sporting activity? Is this the end?
That's real.
It's real.
That's real.
Whether it's right or wrong, it's real.
I don't think it's unhealthy. I think that's a reality.
But I also think it was a reality that was based a lot around pride.
Sure.
And not surrender.
Without question.
And then few days later, right around that time, is when our military started to pull out of Afghanistan. And there was so much going on with refugees and evacuees. And we had some partners and some team members that were serving in these locations in the Middle East. And I got an opportunity within a few days to fly to one of the Middle East countries. And when we land, there are so many people that are in real crisis, conflict, and chaos. mine was fake conflict. It was an inner conflict, but there's no comparison, right? When we land and we're walking in, it is people that have been trampled, that have been stomped, that have been raped, that have been abused, people fighting for their life. And the doctors and the nurses are working, and there's so much, and we're praying for people, and we spend a couple of days there in ministry, and we leave and we fly to another country to do ministry there. And it was these couple of days, just my heart being worked on, my eyes, my mind being worked on. And it was really on that next flight to the next country, it's really since I was cut, the first time that I actually could say to God, honestly, God, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for letting me get cut.
Wow.
Because if I wouldn't have signed with the Jaguars and then get cut by the Jaguars, I wouldn't have had the freedom in my schedule. As you know, I'd been doing the next thing it's just, we would have had something planned in advance, and you just wouldn't have. I would have been doing TV or playing baseball, and I wouldn't have had the freedom. And it was on that trip where, I just, in a sense, felt this way of feeling like, God, I thought it was a setup, but it really was a setback. But then when I got there on this trip and I saw the people, I realized, no, it wasn't a setback. It was actually a really set up for what I'm really called to do, and that's not a game.
Yeah.
And that was a perspective flip and switch and change for me. And that's just being very honest about, I needed it.
Yeah.
I really needed it, because up until I went, it was about me.
Yeah.
About my pride, what I wanted, and dreams, and all of these things. And God's saying, no, you thought this was the worst. It's actually what I've designed you for more than a game would ever be. This is what I want you to do. And it was a reminder, and honestly in a kind way, for me to be reminded of what I was called to do.
Yeah. I love a good holiday deal. And saving money with codes and email signups and exclusive offers can be great, but it's also a trade-off. Every one of those deals requires you to give a little more of your personal information, and that data often doesn't stay with the store. It's sold to data brokers who then resell it to spammers, scammers, and phishing networks. I'm not telling you to skip the holiday deals, but I am telling you to protect yourself with Delete Me. Over 20 billion records have leaked in recent years, so the Delete Me team of privacy experts tracks down your personal info across hundreds of shady websites and gets it removed. And they don't just remove it once. They stay on it over and over. So the fewer robocalls and junk emails in your inbox, the more energy you can spend where it counts, on your work and on your relationships. So take back control of your digital privacy. Go to joindeleteme.com/frontrowseat for 20% off an annual plan. That's joindeleteme.com/frontrowseat. Okay, I want you to open this up.
Oh, boy.
And this is a person from your past, and I want you to tell the audience who that is and what they meant to you.
I'm nervous.
No, don't be.
This is Coach Howard. He was my high school football coach. He was like a second father figure to me, and he was incredible. I could still tell you this day without thinking about it for a while, so much of what he taught me. Character, strength, and honor. Do what's right, do your best, and treat others the way that you want to be treated. Our job, he would always say this as coaches, he would say, it's our job to love you, and it's your job to love one another. He was an incredible coach that passed away quite a few years ago, and I had a bunch of stuff planned and engagements, and I said, I'm sorry, they're all canceled. I got to go fly to Oregon to his funeral. And what was so incredible is you talk about a life well lived. Yes, he will be talked about as a football coach, but he's remembered as a man that influenced young men, not just to get better on a field, but to improve in what they have been called to do and who they have been called to be. And he was just an absolute incredible coach. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about him was the way that he loved his team.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite stories was, it was our senior year, and there was an awesome young man that God did not give him the same physical abilities he gave to others. but he was really smart and he was brilliant, and he would help track all the stats. And I'd come to the sideline, he would track them all and tell me what's going on. This is how many times they blitz. This is what they've done here, here, and here. But he never really got to play. But we're playing a game and we're winning by a lot. And we knew we had to get him a touchdown. And me and Coach talked about it. We're figuring out how to get him a touchdown. Most coaches, they'll let players in, but they won't actually design a play and force it so a young man can get a touchdown, so he can be celebrated. And we got down to the goal line. I purposely went down on about the 1.5. And so we could get this young man a touchdown. And we tried on a play and we set it up and he didn't score. And so then we did it again, and you literally see the whole offense like picking him up, carrying him into the end zone. And it was, but that just demonstrates the love that a team had for everyone, whether you're the best player on the team, the worst player on the team. That's what a team looks like. When everyone's celebrating his touchdown as much as any of mine or Ryan or Manny or the other good players on our team that scored a lot of touchdowns, it really was a team. And I learned so much from this incredible man, and I love him very much, and I can't wait to see him in heaven.
Yeah. We're talking to professionals. We got people who are leading people that are in a place of influence. And I think that many times we get an opportunity to hear from somebody like you who's accomplished great things on the field and certainly off the field. And I think it's important for us to go back and go, besides your parents who had tremendous impact on you, obviously, who are some people that really shaped you?
Yeah.
And I was thinking of it because your story was unbelievable in the sense of the hype around you. I mean, it was LeBron James-esque. I remember watching it. I'm a good bit older than you, so I remember watching, who's this kid out of Florida that everybody's talking about? I got to watch it on ESPN to see who is this, And he helped guide, shape during that crazy time.
Totally. Radically changed my life.
Yeah.
Can I share one more thing
Please
about
do. Yeah.
Coach Howard?
Yeah.
Is when you believe in someone and you build them up, it also allows a leader to then challenge you more.
Yes.
Like it gives you the freedom. I remember we were playing my sophomore year, Pedro Menendez, and I broke my leg near the end of the first quarter. And I come over to the sidelines, and I threw an interception on the play. I planted and threw, and a guy went low, and my leg snapped. And I hobbled to the sidelines, and he said, "You okay?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I broke my leg." And he said, not that I believe this or it's true, but he said, "You're the toughest guy I've ever met. Now suck it up. We're down 17-0. And both were so true. The belief, I believe that he believed that in being tough, but then when it's followed by, now we got to go.
Yeah, right.
And we ended up in the fourth quarter, I ran for, I think, an 18-yard touchdown. I dove in the end zone, and I hit the safety and broke his leg. So we're both laying in the end zone. Scores tied 24-24. Both laying there with broken legs. Sucky ending because it's only a few seconds to go, and they had a kickoff return, ran all the way down, kicked a crazy long field goal to win it 27-24. Why do I remember this? It's my sophomore year of high school. Should let it go. Bitterness is not a good thing. Yeah. But I share that story because I knew how much he believed in me and how much he truly loved me. And it also gave him a freedom to challenge me so much more than others. Like to challenge me in such a way of that he could speak to my core, and he could ask and demand things that I so desperately wanted to prove him right.
Yes.
It's so important that I think great leaders, there's a respect that's demanded, right? And when he says something, it wasn't because of, accolades or winning or all these other things. Those were good ancillary, but man, it's like, I want to prove him right. I want to make him proud. I want to finish the game and walk over there and him say, "I'm proud of you."
Okay, so that's good. I'm going to drop a little lesson here. I'm learning right here. There's a difference between leaders demanding and commanding.
Yeah.
We see leaders demand. and that's usually anger, authoritarian. This was a whole different deal. Belief, love, commitment, and thus he commanded it.
Yes, he did.
I think there's a difference.
I do too.
And I think Coach did that.
He did it well.
I guess I want the audience to take away real time here that what you have modeled so well for us is that you can pivot to purpose. And you did that, and it's all tied in. All the favor that God gave you athletically was setting you up for what you're doing now, which is kingdom stuff we're talking about. It's incredible stuff. Orphan care prevention, special needs, medical needs, anti-human trafficking, Night to Shine. My gosh, every time I see any kind of Night to Shine stuff, I just weep on Instagram. In fact, one of my dear friends, one of my closest friends, Chris, is on the back row. He volunteered at a local Night to Shine at our church.
Love it. Thank you.
And hearing Chris talk about it gave me goosebumps. And we're sitting on my back porch and I'm getting all choked up just hearing him describe it. And I want you to talk about the work you're doing. Because there is something that is underneath all of that. And I don't want to assume what it is, but knowing the type of home that you grew up in, your parents as missionaries, modeling, loving people, and the value of people.
Yeah.
It still moves your heart. I've seen your emotion multiple times just thinking about that. So talk about the work today and what you're dreaming about through all your work.
Well, it's easy to talk about what we're dreaming about, and that's getting to as many MVPs, the most vulnerable people around the planet, those that are suffering, hurting, conflict, crisis, chaos, of caring for those. We know that God is near to the brokenhearted, and therefore I believe that we should be too. If we know that we serve a God that is near to them, then we shouldn't look around, we shouldn't look past, we shouldn't avoid, we should step right in to the hardest places and care, because where does light shine brightest? In the darkest places.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's so easy for us to avoid them because it feels harder, feels darker, feels like there's more to spare. It's also where light shines brightest. And by the way, every time that light and darkness meet, who wins? Instantly. Every single time. What if, as believers, we really believed that, practiced it, and showed up to dark places? What would happen in our world? But I think really where this stems from, in the heart of it, was when I was 15 years old. I was in the jungles of the Philippines, and I met a boy who was born with his feet on backwards, and because of that, he was treated as less than insignificant and cursed. And I knew that it's during the summer, and I knew how much I love sports. I loved the game so much. I loved winning. I hated losing even more. And I loved the pursuit. I loved the challenge of trying to be my best. And every now and then I could be the challenge of being the best in something. And I loved the thought of, and every now and then I'd be able to win an MVP, right? As most valuable player. But that day was the start of God really impacting my heart and gripping. I say the start because he's had to remind me many times.
Yes.
But the start of him really starting to prick my heart and open my eyes. And that day was a big start in a way of saying, Timmy, which one are you going to care about more? The MVP of most valuable player, or the MVP I love more and most vulnerable people? And which one are you going to chase more? Which one do you think is more valuable to me? And it was also this thought of, it's not enough to go back and just say, I could tell a story, or go back and say, no, but it's not enough to feel something, right? Because we all could just get on the news, we could feel something. We could see someone hurting, we could feel something. That's not enough. You got to take that feeling and turn it into action. You see, I believe that's why there's a big difference between empathy, sympathy, and compassion. Right? Empathy and sympathy can be done from a distance. We could walk by someone on the street that's hurting or homeless or going through a tough time, and you could have empathy, but you can keep their distance. You cannot do that with compassion. There's 12 times compassion's used in the New Testament. 8 times it's used to describe Jesus. It's the Greek word splanchnizomai, which means to be moved from your most inward parts. And that is not comfortable. It is very painful. Like we have a core value at our foundation is we hurt when they hurt. And the reason, we have a lot of reasons for our core values, but one of them is because when we interview and we talk to people or possible partners, all people, we want to share our core values, which really dictates our heart and how we're called and how we're moved and how we want to operate in such a way that it compels the right person to be a part, but it repels the person that says, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt when other people are hurting. I want to be comfortable and I want to be calloused. And that is our heart. And sometimes people say, man, that's a really hard way to go through life. Say, yeah, it can be pretty hard, but it's worth it. It was worth it for Jesus and how he loved people. It's worth it for us. If we really want to follow the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despised the shame, finished the race, and then he sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. For the joy set before him. What was the joy set before him? It wasn't the cross. In my opinion, it was making you and me right with his dad.
Yeah.
For the joy set before him, he endured it.
That's right.
Despised it, finished it. So in the same way, when we talk about visions as leaders, for the joy set before us, what's that joy? Man, for us, it's to get to the hurting, the trafficked, the exploited, those in harm's way, to be able to bring them out, to see the hope and the faith and the love that is renewed in lives. That's a joy set before us. And it takes us being uncomfortable, so maybe one day they will be comfortable.
So good. I'm ready to tackle somebody.
Please not me. I've been hit too many times.
If I tried to tackle you, you'd think a fly was on your pants. You wouldn't even feel it.
That's a weird analogy.
Well, I don't. Yeah, just, like, what is this? All right, we got an audience question. All right, we have a question right here.
Okay, Tim, how do you appropriately weight other people's opinions of you or their feedback? And a thought that I have is, like, people probably treat you pretty well because of things that they see in you in terms of, like, qualities or character, but there's probably a lot of other things too that are worldly things that they look at, whether it's athleticism or things that they value, or attractiveness or popularity, or things that could puff you up and build up your pride if you don't appropriately weight those things. That if you when you don't have those, for example, when you get cut from the Jaguars, it's like if you give those too much power, they can crush you.
Yes, they can.
And so how do you manage handling those like feelings, even compliments that people give you?
Wow, it's a great question. Can you tell me your name again?
Cam. Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Cam. It's a great question. I don't know if this is right and wrong, but I just try to be as honest with the response as possible. I don't actually, I think this is just through time and through, I think, having some praise and criticism. Words of affirmation is not my love language. It's actually probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest. And I think probably because I've just heard a lot of words, good or bad, said about me over a long period of time. And so I don't take in a lot of what people say to me, whether it's right or wrong. When I evaluate, I actually watch how they treat people that can do nothing for them. And that's on our teams, it's in friends, it's in meeting y'all. Like it's gonna weigh so much more is if you treat someone kindly that can do nothing for you, especially when you're mad, irritated, or something doesn't go your way, versus in a setting like this when the mic's on top of you and the camera's in front of you, right? A lot of people want to look good and see that. But how do you view people, or how do you treat people when no one's there, or when they can do nothing for you? That's become very valuable to me, because I think it says a lot about someone's character, and not just how you treat people that maybe can't do anything, but if people are watching you, you still want the praise from it, right? So if nobody's watching, or you don't think anybody's watching, and you don't think they can do, I think both of those are really important. And then to add to that, it's a little bit of a sidebar, but on the same point, I would say I've been fortunate to have some really great mentors and pastors speak into my life, and I value their opinion very highly, because they are wise counsel. I know they love me, but I know they love the Lord more than me. And I know they're going to speak truth to me, and they're going to challenge me. And I wouldn't put their opinion as high as my wife. Hers besides the Lord would be the highest, but then they also are very valuable. And that's another one of our core values. It's our second core value, is that we value and seek wise counsel. And I really believe it's all throughout Scripture, but especially in Proverbs. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. In a multitude of counselors there is wisdom, and you could go on and on and on. on. And I just think both of those are really important things, right? How do we really evaluate people? And I don't mean that in a judgment side, but we always evaluate people, not in a condemnation judgment side, but an evaluation of how much do we want to grow in a relationship? How much do we want to be friends? All of these things, right? We're always making evaluations. So people are like, oh, don't judge me. Well, I think what they're really saying is, don't bring condemnation, but we make evaluations and judgment every day. You made a judgment to come here today, right? And so we're making these about people all of the time. Now, I think what's key is we don't diminish their value and worth based on their decisions, but we obviously make an evaluation based on how much we let someone into our family versus not, how much we let someone into our team versus not, and I value a big part of that is how they treat people that can never do anything for them, because that is very crucial. But then also for me personally, the input that I take in probably most is hopefully from Scripture and God's Word, but then after that from my wife, and then after that the wise counsel and the people that get to be around me, not just in the highs, but in the lows and in the daily, and we really try to empower one another to really be iron that sharpens iron. And, which we say that verse all the time, especially in faith-based settings, but what does it really mean? The literal translation is iron sharpens iron so that one man sharpens the face of his friend. And how is iron sharpened? It's done under time, force, and precision. And if we really want to be sharpened, it has to be done under time. It means over and over and over again. And then it has to be done under force, hard. Metals colliding, and then precision, actually getting to the wounds and the weaknesses that we have. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but that was a few thoughts from it.
You can't win the day if you lose the night before. I've learned that the hard way. I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed and been on the wrong side of everybody else the rest of the day. Folks, when I don't sleep well, I'm more distracted, less patient, and honestly, I'm not at my best. And that's why I made a change. I got an avocado green mattress. Now, here's what I love. It took me less than 2 minutes to take their quiz and find the right fit for me. And the peace of mind? No toxic chemicals, just organic, breathable materials that help me sleep cooler and deeper. So whether you want to show up a little bit better at work or be more present at home, or just get that guest room ready for the holidays, go to avocadogreenmattress.com/Ken. Their Black Friday sale lasts all of November, and with the code KEN50, you save an extra $50 on top of 20% off site-wide. That's avocadogreenmattress.com/Ken, code KEN50. Avocado, dream of better. I want to move to leadership, in the American workplace. It's about 2 or 3 promotions that if you get, you're going to be moved into a management role. Many times you don't even want to, and they don't prepare you well. And I think of you coming into Florida, and we've all seen the documentaries, those of us who lived it and watched it. It was a colorful locker room, to put it mildly, right? To keep it it was a very interesting group. We know the stories, a lot of rare personalities, people going to jail, just, coming from different walks of life. And again, here you are thrust into the spotlight, and the quarterback position is a natural position of leadership. But you took on the mantle, and we've seen what you've done. I'm thinking of the manager out there or the young leader doesn't have a lot of experience, and they're thrust into this role, and they got some difficult people on their team. Looking back on it, what did you do well? What did you learn about trying to be a leader on such a very interesting group of players?
Well, I think that something special that we had that gets overlooked is our love for one another was extremely high.
Okay.
And it's easy to talk about some of the stories, but they forget the heart of it.
Yeah.
And I think when there is a combined suffering, maybe, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but when you put in so much work together,
Sure.
blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah.
there's this level of suffering you went through together that bonds people. And we were very close in a lot of areas, very close.
What was the key to that, do you think?
I think it's what we went through together.
Just
And
the
then
brutal urban practices and all
yeah,
that
and then I
stuff?
think on top of that, it was buying into the same mission I was talking about earlier, the same vision, the same united goal. I think that really mattered. And then I would say, I think I probably did a lot of things very poorly. But one of the things that I've really I felt learned maybe a little bit then and some after, is in leading, there is a big difference between being liked and being respected. And it's so easy for us to want to be liked.
Of course.
I don't think a lot of the best leaders in history were always liked.
Yeah.
I think like's actually very overrated most of the time. Respect is not. When you are respected because of your work, because of your discipline, because of the way you go about it, because of your love, compassion, it lasts so much longer than a like, right? Why? Let's think about it this way. Look at all the social medias. What button is there? A like button.
Yes.
What would happen to people's posts if it wasn't a like button, if it was a respect button? What would happen to what we post and what we share? I think it'd be radically different.
Yeah.
But we're in a society that craves being liked. I know I do. I'm a people pleaser. I'm the baby of 5 in our family. And I just naturally always was wanting to be liked by people. And that has taken me to some places where I have done certain things and didn't live by my convictions because I wanted to be liked and gave in to being liked.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why my dad is one of my biggest heroes ever is because the way that he was able to diminish likes and choose convictions over that emotion. And I tell you, to be honest, he's one of my biggest heroes now, but there were times where I was like, oh man, Dad, like for real?
Yeah.
Like, do you have to be so bold?
Right.
Like, after church, we'd go to a restaurant and like the whole restaurant, my dad would stand up and it was like, hey, we're a praying family. If you guys want to pray with us, you're welcome. And I'd be like, I'm not here.
Right.
Like, I was like, Dad,
I feel that.
We love Jesus. Why do you have to tell everyone?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
but one of the coolest things that happened literally as I was driving here, Dabo Sweeney, the coach of Clemson, texted me and he said, hey, I just saw this in my file. And it just shows what an awesome man your dad is.
Oh, so cool.
And when I was getting recruited, I didn't know my dad did this, but sometime in 2004, 3 or 5, somewhere around that time when Dabo was recruiting me at Clemson, my dad wrote him a letter that Dabo texted me today, just a couple hours ago.
Wow.
And it's just very honorable. Thank you so much for recruiting my son, Timmy. But it went into then sharing the gospel. And Dabo's already an awesome believer.
Right.
But sharing the gospel with him in such a clear way. And I was like, man, my dad has used everything in his life, every opportunity, every platform, every chance to tell people about the greatest love story of all time. Because he loved Jesus and he cared more about people knowing Jesus than people liking him.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I have failed so many times in my life because I've cared more about how people view me than how people view Jesus.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And so that gives perspective. So here you come in this locker room, and obviously the team is bonded by it was brutal suffering, in the sense of the physical. If you haven't seen the documentary, you got to watch it, but obviously very intense suffering. And then there's a common goal. So that makes total sense. But it's interesting that you share what you shared, because a lot of different backgrounds, and I don't know how many open believers there were on that team. It doesn't matter for history's sake, but I wonder if when you say, it was better to be respected than liked, did your faith come under attack? Did it not at all?
Never.
So they were just
Not
like,
that I can-
he's
not that I
legit.
No, I mean, it's one of the things that also doesn't get talked about was all of the different things that God did in and around that team. When we were blessed to win our second championship my junior year, we had the celebration in Gainesville, Florida, and there's 60, 70,000 people in the stadium. And, a few of us are getting up, saying things to the crowd, thank you for support, awesome, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But one of the things that was so special is we had a chaplain. His name was Pastor Lindsay. And he was a good communicator, but an even better singer. And one of the ways he reached our team was by singing so much at chapel services. And the day we played for the national championship, all of us are nervous. I'm so nervous. And I'm reading through Matthew with it and just, the pressure of it, all of this. And I asked Pastor Lindsay, hey, are you around the hotel right now? Because we have about a 3-hour break during the day in between meetings and everything. And he said, yeah, I'm here. And I said, hey, any chance that you can come? I'm just so anxious. Can you come up to the room? And then I started inviting some of team members. And all of a sudden, before you realize it, there's like 40 guys that are packed in and out of the hall room. And he is singing. And it's just a worship service.
Right.
And there was a song that he sang that was kind of a theme song for us throughout the year. And so I share that to then go back to the celebration, because it wasn't just us. Like all of our coaches, all of the administration, the front office, all of them are part of any championship. It takes everybody. And also our chaplain, Pastor Lindsay. And so some of the team, and I didn't want it to be like just my thing, but I was like, hey, what? And so some of the guys on the team were like, no, we got to get Pastor Lindsay up here, and you got to sing the song to 70,000 people.
Oh, come on.
And he sings this song that's just presenting the gospel in the most beautiful way. And he sings it to 70,000 people, and you have everyone standing and singing along with it.
Yeah.
And it turns into unbelievable worship service.
Okay, so on this leadership thing, I want to dig a little bit more, because you said that you had to earn respect. There are some young people that are watching this, men and women, and they want to get ahead. They've got big visions and things of this nature. What would you say to them about earning respect?
The first thing that hit my mind, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I do think it can be very helpful. Go find the best in that company or the best in the world that is doing it, and go shadow them and try to do everything that they could do. So why I say that is, when I got there, Brandon Seiler was our middle linebacker, and he was the alpha male on the team. And so whenever I could, I would go train with him, and I would say, hey, Brandon, or B-Sai, we'd call him.
Right.
B-Sai, can I do extra with you? Can I train with you? And he's like, what the heck is this quarterback want? Like, you want to train with me as a middle linebacker? Yes. And so every opportunity I would get, I would work out with him. I would train with him. I would push sleds with him. I would do arms with him. I would do all of these extra things with him for several reasons. One, because if I could get our alpha male to believe that when it got hard, I wouldn't flinch, then I would earn respect. But also, two, if I could do what B-Sai could do as one of the best linebackers in the SEC and around the country, as an alpha, as a leader, at all of this, then what confidence should I have?
Yes.
If I'm getting ready for SEC play in Tennessee and Georgia and LSU and all of these teams, if I know that I put in the work that he did, then how much more confident am I going to be ready for that moment? And so it was a lot of benefits from it. But I think that was one of, and I'm so grateful that he allowed me to do that.
Yes.
As this young 18-year-old kid,
Yeah.
And he's like, sure. And I would train with him, and I would work. And one of my favorite things in all of sports, especially my freshman year, is when I would get to go run in the game. And they would call a QB power, QB counter, 4th and 1 against LSU or Alabama. And I was in a lot of 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts.
Oh, yeah.
And you would run and get it, maybe run someone over, fight to score a touchdown. And you would have the Reggie Nelsons and the Steve Harrises and the Marcus Thomas and the Brandon Seilers and Earl Everetts and all of these great defensive players, because our defense was a joke. We were so good.
Yeah.
Especially my freshman year, when they would come over and they would walk over and they would dap you up,
That's right.
And it was like, because that was earning their respect.
Yes.
Or you'd run in there and they'd stand up. I want to see it. I'm not saying it always went good, right?
Right.
But man, when you put in the work with him, they're like,
Yes.
okay, I know what he can do. And then in practice, when you do it against them, right? And one of the most important things, in my opinion, about when you're put in a leadership role, especially as a quarterback, you're just inherently put in you're just kind of made the leader, whether you are or you're not.
That's right.
how does your play or actions make everybody else better? It's not just what you do on the field. It's not just your stats, meaning I was 13 for 17, or I did this, or I had this many yards. Like, that's important. What's equally as important, and sometimes more important, is how does your effort and your will and your mindset and your just your persona, all of that, how does it affect everybody else? Like, does your effort make the D-line play better? You know, I think when Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma, I think he made their defense play better. John Mateer, who's now at Oklahoma, who transferred, his play at Oklahoma has made the team better. Because when we were there a few weeks ago and they're getting ready for the Auburn game, and we're talking to all of his teammates and coaches, so man, when he stepped foot on here, changed the culture. Changed the culture. Because people would look and say, dang. Right? That's what it can do. Right? And I think we should never underestimate the difference that a leader that's put in place can do for a culture, that can do for a community, can do for a team, can do for a company. And those traits don't just apply to football.
That's right.
They apply to everything. Like, we have so many amazing members of our team. One story I'm thinking of in particular, as a lady on our team that has served so faithfully for so many years, the most vulnerable, and everyone is terrified of letting her down.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome. I am.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it is awesome.
Yeah.
The level of respect that she commands.
Yes.
Not because of her posture or demeanor, but because of her faithfulness for so long. That everyone, partners, our own team, like
she sets the bar.
We don't want to let her down.
Yes.
You know, it's just and there's a consistency in the faithfulness of that that I think is really special.
Really good. I know we have another audience question. All right, we have a question right here in front.
So I work with a lot of faith-driven business owners, growth strategy and things like that. And many, believe it or not, they struggle with their faith in being bold. They're worried about what employees think, customers, vendors, the city, whatever that may be. Being someone who has been so bold about their faith in some of the biggest stages, if you were sitting down in front of them, how would you encourage them?
First of all, I would say that I don't believe I've been bold, and I don't say that to be self-deprecating or overly humble. When we look at the word toma, it means to be put it all on the line, to do it as necessary, right? That's what boldness is translated as, and I just don't think that it's accurate. I've never had to put it all on the line to do it as necessary. I've had a lot of friends and family members that have had to put it all on the line. There's a lot of Christians around the world that are being persecuted for their faith, and I think it's really important that we understand the distinction. Like, being criticized for something versus being persecuted is very different, right? I think one of the last stats I heard is that 12 Christians are martyred every day for their faith. Like, I think it is very arrogant to act like I have ever been persecuted. Like, there's a big difference. Let's go to a lot of countries, a lot of places around the world. Like, we're in a country where we have the freedom to share our faith whenever, however we want. And we might have criticism, but we have freedom of speech. Right? And I think it's really important we just back up and I would start there. No, I do not. And I'm not trying to say that to be like self-deprecating or humble. I'm trying to say that because I believe that humility, and modern psychologists use it as an accurate view of oneself. And when I take an accurate view of myself, I do not believe that I have really ever had to be bold for something. And my dad has. Other heroes in my life have. But I have never had to do it. So I've won several awards for being bold. And the first thing that I've said is, you got the wrong guy. Because I could tell you a whole lot of my heroes that have been bold in the hardest places around the world. And that's not me. If it ever came to it, would I be willing? Man, I hope and pray I would. But I don't know, because I've never been in that situation. So I don't mean to cut short the question, but I don't believe that I deserve that honor. So how could I encourage them to be bolder?
Yeah.
It might be hard and challenging, but I'd probably ask first, what do you care about most? Is it you care about their opinion, you care about getting that deal, or you care about living out the Great Commission? You care about obeying maybe a rule or obeying the King of Kings? I really do believe that there are times and places that we need to understand when to speak, how to speak. I do believe we need to try to be all things to all people. And there are times when yes, maybe preaching and hitting someone over the head with the Bible is not the right place, the right time, not the right way. But I also believe that every day we share the gospel, every now and then we use words. We should do it by how we act and how we talk, and we should always be a constant invitation in our lives and through our lives of trying to lead people closer to Christ, right? And also doing that, I also believe that when we do that, it also is working in us too. Like there's something cool about that. Like you go on a mission trip, you might not have the right heart posture, but somehow God works in you where it's like, I actually feel like I'm the one blessed from it. But I also believe that we're in a country, in a place where we need these businesses to step up and be bolder and be willing to live on purpose for a purpose. And I really believe in some of these spaces, like it's a marketplace where we have to take ground as believers. Why can't faith-based leaders be some of the next tech founders? Why can't faith-based leaders come up with the next companies? Why can't we have that? Why do we have to compete for second or third best? Why do faith-based movies or shows have to be inferior to the rest? Right? That's why I love The Chosen. I love House of David. I love these because it's competing at such a high level that we can do things with excellence, because I think whatever our hands finds to do with all of your might. That's biblical. Like, I don't think God called us to suck. Right. Like, it's not like, hey, I think you should be average. Like, I don't think that's accurate. We should try to make our products as good as possible, but knowing the product isn't the end goal, it's the people. Right? So it's a perspective in that, but it's also, hey, how can we use this and leverage it for good? I'm so grateful that we have so many friends in investing in so many companies that are fighting trafficking in the technology that they're creating, because they're stepping into that space, because it's a space where a lot of evil takes place, and they're stepping in technology, but with a bigger purpose than just what they've created. It's for who they created it for. Right? And what's the bigger purpose behind that? And I think we can do that with nuance and kindness and love and respect, but also at the same time, never letting our why when asked slip. And I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think it's hard. I think it's difficult. We're trying to nuance it. But if we err on the side of Jesus.
It's good. Thinking as you were talking, I think my favorite passage of scripture, it's certainly up there, Psalm 139, 13, 14, and David draws the beautiful analogy of knitting. He says, you knit me together in my mother's womb. And I've always loved the intentionality of that, this idea of the threads and the intentionality. And then in verse 14, he goes on to say, I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. He uses the wonder.
That's right.
It leads me to your new book. I love the title, Look Again. It's like a challenge. It's like, go. I love that. And subtitle, Recognize Your Worth, Renew Your Hope, Run with Confidence. This is a reader's copy of the book. But I love this. And with that scripture in mind, it's very obvious in this conversation alone, not to mention all the work that you've done, that you value people. You just value people. You try to. It's very hard for you to take a compliment. Has anybody ever told you this? If we had more time, I would dig into that, because there's a reason for that, but I love your spirit. Why this particular title? I know what the book is about. You lay it out beautifully in the subtitle, but I love this. Look again. That's intentional.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this, because that, to me, seems to be the challenge of the book.
Can I go back to that verse real quick?
Yes, do it. Two of my favorites.
I'll answer this.
Yeah.
Is that we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
But it ends with, and my soul knows it very well.
And I know it well. That's right.
And
confidence.
That ties into this, because if we really knew that we were fearfully and wonderfully made, if we knew it, if my soul knew it very well, I wouldn't need to write the book.
Right.
This book, I pray, is an extreme encouragement to people, and I feel like there's a lot that will encourage people. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like part of this book will be one of the biggest challenges of their life. And why look again? Because that was meditated on and prayed through for a long time. But it's because in our life, when we are dealing with 1 out of 3 girls that is going to be abused by the time they're 18, 1 out of 6 boys, you have 400 million people that would be exploited or sexually abused this year around the world. You have 50 million people trapped in human trafficking. We have a loneliness epidemic. We have a suicidal epidemic. You look at all of this. What's at the root of all of this? To answer your question from earlier, when we're devaluing people based on their opinion, we all have to look again at who God made us to be, that we were made in God's image. And if we had more time, I could dive into that. But that really wrecked me, because so many times we think that being made in God's image is either because we were created as rational beings, relational beings, or functional beings. You know, rational, that we were created with thought; relational, that we were created to be in relationship with God and one another; and then functional, to rule and reign over the creation that God has created. All of those, I think, are a piece of it. But I also think when we say that, we're missing the biggest part. And I was super convicted, because when I was hearing that, I was so convicted. Well, what about 16% of the world's population that has special needs, that can't do some of those to the same extent? Are they made in God's image less? And I believe that it's absolutely no, that they were made in God's image just like you and me were made in God's image. And when we really talk about being made in God's image, being made in the image of blank was something that Assyrian kings would say. They were made in the image of Bel, a god that they believed in. Egyptian kings would be made in the image of Ra, a god that they believed in. This was used over and over and over in the ancient Near East. Why? Because it was a term for kings or monarchs. And so in the ancient Near East, when someone is going to read Genesis and they were going to read, I was made in God's image and in his likeness, and then it would have been different than the way we take it, in my opinion. And this is talking to a lot of ancient Near East, Old Testament scholars, New Testament scholars. This would have been a heart posture from God of saying, it is a royal worth statement. You were so valuable to me that I created you in my image and likeness. It is a worth and a value statement more than anything else, in my opinion. It is a worth statement. And that worth is diminished, as we were talking about earlier. And my heart with look again is, when we understand this and we look at it, of the heart in Genesis of a royal worth statement, and then the love of a God that will send his son on the greatest love story rescue mission of all time to redeem us, so that we would be adopted into the family of God, to be reconciled, to be made right with God. You think about the worth of humanity to God. It wasn't just a royal worth statement in Genesis. It was followed up by the greatest rescue mission, demonstrating his love for us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. That's how we're supposed to view people, through the worth of Genesis and the lens of the cross. Right? And that's the heart behind Look Again, that we would read it and we would really look again at who God made us, what God has done for us. But then what happens is if I look at myself through the lens of God's word and through the lens of the cross, it's going to do something. It's going to encourage me. It's going to build me up. But then when I show up here today and I see all of you, then I have to see you that way. And so it's challenging us in a lot of ways to look again. And why that leads to the subtitles, recognizing your worth, because we have to recognize our God-given worth, not in an arrogant way, in a value, in how God values humanity. And then it will renew our hope. What does renew mean? To flourish once more. And I want humanity to flourish with a hope, not a flipping a coin of hope, but a hope that's based on God's promises. And then we can run with a confidence. If I really recognize my worth, if I renew my hope, then I can run with a confidence. But it's not a confidence to go run after my hope, just my hopes and dreams. It's a confidence that could run after what God's called me to. And so my biggest hope and prayer is that this would encourage people, but then it would challenge people, because when I believe that I was created in God's image, and I'm an image being, not an image bearer, that's a different point. Because if we bear something, we can also put it down. I don't believe that anyone can put down the mark of God of who they are created in love, by love, and for love. We can never take that away. There's never something, before I came here this morning, I was preaching in a prison about an hour and a half from here, and I got to share, some of this message, but little bit different with all of the inmates that were there. And it was awesome. It was with an awesome organization called Men of Valor that go into prisons and preach the good news of the gospel. And, I get to share with every one of those inmates their worth and their value and the love of a heavenly Father and what he would do to send his son for them. But you see, when we view ourselves that way, we view other people that way, and then we see them suffering, exploited, abused, lonely, neglected, despised. What should happen? It should urge us to go do something. We can't sit there any longer. We can't look past them. We can't look around them. It has to do something, because I see someone else who is made in God's image and they are being treated as trash or less than, but we know that they're a royalty to God, and we know what Jesus did for them on the cross. That should spur us to action, and it should challenge us to do something about it. And that's the heart of Look Again.
Oh, so rich and so passionate. I love that. I would encourage everybody to not only get it, but to give it away to somebody that you feel needs to take another look, to look again at their value. So what'd you learn today? Where were you challenged by our conversation? We do this to show you the value of questions, to dig, to learn so that you can grow. And I want to give you something, as I always do, that I took away. I'm going back to the first part of the conversation, learning about Coach Howard, because I had so many coaches pour into me, and I can look back and say they had a real impact on changing my trajectory. And as Tim was talking about Coach Howard, I was challenged to be like Coach Howard, to lead my family, the people that I get to work with, the amazing audience that I get a chance to talk to day in and day out. Love, he coached with love, he said, and he gave so much belief. And real love and authentic belief is a superpower, yes, especially in today's world. So that's what I'm challenged to, is to see where in my life, personally and professionally, that's where we're always challenging you. Look at how you can learn something from today's conversation and apply it to be the best that you can be. Hey, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, we'd love for you to let us know by liking, and subscribing.
By respecting.
Yeah, you know what? I got to do it. And also, if you would love to join us in studio for a future live recording, check out the link in our show notes where we're going to give you up-to-date info on our guests and those dates. Hey, to our friends in the room, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. Honored that you came, and grateful for you. And would you join me in showing some gratitude to our friend Tim for being with us?
Thank you, guys.
Really good. Really good.